Trek. Now we got to talk about is the body of prison, and we're gonna talk about some other stuff about like this is what, let's just say, the sins of the Satanist church. Oh yeah. Now most people find this shit spookism. Oh my god, I don't want to hear about what they do. Shit. If you don't understand what these evil Satanists motherfucking doing, then you ain't trying to know your enemy. But to me personally, God, Satan is all like within. Like anybody could be a God, anybody could be a Satan. It all depends on your thought process, your heart, your spirit, and your actions. The more good things you do, you a godlike person. The more bad things you do, you a demon like person. You know what I'm saying? Heaven and hell ain't places, they are conditions and states of consciousness. At least, that's what I see. But we're gonna talk about is the body of prison. Me personally, I think this planet is a prison. Body is a prison. I could probably say 70-30, where you put a lot of shit into perspective. When you like when you just like look at life for what it is. Just like simple, just like looking at life for what it is. This planet is a prison, this body is a prison. And I'm not the only one that thought this. This was also thought up by the Gnostics and a whole bunch of other people in other different cultures. So we're gonna get off into it. But first, much love, Vata. Hey, baby. Yeah, baby. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. But we're going to talk about the Satanists first. The sins of the Satanist church. Now, know thy enemy. And I want y'all to pay close attention to the sins. All right, let's get it.
Off of their own website in real time, okay? The first of the 9 satanic sins is stupidity. So don't embody stupidity. And what you have to understand, every time you hear this in their, quote, sins of Satanism, is this is what the Satanist should not do, but the Satanist should propagate this for all others to do, because we want to get these people locked into doing these things so we can more easily rule over them. We can turn them into our slave class and rule them. So this is what they want for the population. Hear what's being said. Really open up your ears and listen to what is said. The satanic sins are the things that the Satanists, the ruling and administrative class on earth, should not do, but that they should try to inculcate all other people who are going to become their slave class to do and be.
This is one of the most blatant.
So get the idea clear. And then the first thing is stupidity. So that means the rulers of people, the ruling class, should not be stupid. They should be as well educated as possible, holistically educated. But they should get the public, they should get the morons of the world, they should get all of the unwashed masses to be as dumbed down and as stupid as possible. And just look around. Just look around us.
Yep, just look around us. So one of the sins of the Satanist church is you can't be stupid. You got to be well versed in all knowledge. Everybody else got to be stupid so we can make them slaves to our will. Crazy, ain't it?
If that's not what you see everywhere, once again, there's something wrong with your perceptive abilities. There's almost all imbecilic, moronic, stupid people everywhere. It says on their website, it's too bad that stupidity isn't painful, meaning painful for the stupid. Unfortunately, it's painful for the actually educated. That's
right.
what's painful.
I have chosen to embody stupidity and come in from the other angle.
So the other,
Yeah, but for us that's educated, right? You know, like me, shit, man. You know, I'm a high school dropout, but I've learned all the greater knowledge outside of what school was teaching us through their indoctrination camp. When I found out the truth, I just kept on reading, kept on studying, kept on learning, kept on grabbing pieces of truth and applying it to my life and acting accordingly. And like the more knowledge you gain, and it's just like you see the stupidity around you. You see the idiocracy. It's like idiocracy. You know, and plus another thing is happening is like they're looking down on us for being smart. They're looking down on us for not being part of the game. I'm like, man, if it was up to me, I'll put a hole in these motherfuckers. So I'm like, honestly, like, I'm like, man, like, don't let me seeking wisdom, knowledge, and understanding fool you. I will knock your fucking head off your shoulders. Don't ever take my kindness for weakness. You know what I'm saying? It's like, shit, I'm choosing to think because they're trying to make us not think at all. I'm trying to keep a level head. But some of these people got to get knocked upside the head. So I try to do it with my music and with my, like, you know, like with the truth that I put out there, man. But like, there's going to be a time where, like I said, when I'm blasting the government, don't be in my way. Simple. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't say I'm overreacting. Don't say I'm overthinking shit. No, because you will fall with my enemy. Best believe that. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
sins, I'll just run through them, is pretentiousness. That means pretending to be something that you're not. You're not.
When I hear this, I immediately...
And you see that all over the place.
Right.
And quite frankly, you know what I have to say is a big embodiment of pretentiousness? The alternative media community. Yeah. They are basically putting on a mask and pretending to be something that they're really not. And they don't want to be truly genuine and real. They don't want to be that hardcore, real individual. They don't want to give people the straight crap. They don't want to take off the mask. They don't want to take off the niceties. You know, telling the truth doesn't have to involve being super nice. Because in all honesty, I took off the velvet glove and put on the iron gauntlet a long time ago. And I've just been beating up on people, quite frankly. Because if you've been saying this for 20 years straight, and people still don't want to believe what you are actually involved in, and don't want to believe you understand these people's mindset, you understand their whole ideology, you understand what they're doing to the rest of society, and you see it playing out practically in slow motion like a horror movie, and you've been yelling this from the rooftops, and now they're coming out, basically externalizing themselves as the satanic, pedophilic cannibals that they actually are, and then people still don't want to interview you.
Right. It's like, I've been yelling this shit. It's like, shit, man. I've been yelling this shit for over 10, 15 years. You know, I've been putting it heavy in my music since 2019. You know what I'm saying, man? But I've really been heavy in this motherfucking shit. It's like, shit, I'm tired of talking all normal. It's like, man, y'all ain't hearing that shit. I gotta yell this shit, throw this shit in my music with all my rage and anger behind it. Like real shit. This is how we fucking feel. This is the wrath of Cain. The wrath of Cain in this bitch. Or the wrath of Hurricane, whatever. Cain, Hurricane, slurring Cain. We ain't playing no game. Bars.
Your knowledge and your wisdom from lived experience, you'd be a little bit on the perturbed
you have
side.
people against you, dude. Just, you know.
Sometimes,
the bottom line is...
Oh, I know what dumb pieces of trash the people of this world are. They're dumb trash.
Well, what I mean is, besides just that, one thing I could not have fathomed before I was working on Jimmy's show, and like the weirdness of like his getting hacked by Pegasus, and you're like, what? And then when it came out, and Matt Taibbi turned out to be bullshit too, but when he was in those Twitter files, they were going after smaller accounts. They weren't going after the big ones. And what people don't expect, and nobody believes me, I mean, no, people believe me that know, but in comedy, for example, so I'm in Austin, Rogan's Club is here. Talk about painfully stupid. You know, there's a whole group of people that seem to believe that Rogan got Trump elected single-handedly by letting him talk on his show, which their candidate, who was part of the same thing, could have gone on herself.
I go into the idea that a lot of the alternative media could very much and very well be controlled opposition.
Well, not just
by who they
I'm saying,
want.
wait. I'm
Shit,
saying,
it
okay,
is.
of course
And
that.
mind control.
Of course that. But what I didn't know is, so and it came out because I'm in the Epstein files, not because I did nothing, but he got invited to a show that I was on that was being taped on his birthday. Never got a chance to hang out. A friend of mine, I mean, we're close, but I always liked him, is in those files, and it ain't good. A lot of pizza emails about him.
Yes.
So that's creepy as hell. But there's people from Intel and all these, especially because MK Ultra and Monarch are real things. They know that the propaganda and the media, of course, they're going to have their own alternative, and they're going to have people that they send to like comedy clubs.
Yeah. They want people to massage this.
Any place with a high
Them to put a spin on it to almost make it socially acceptable, to make it just be acknowledged as, oh yeah, that's what they do, and that they'll just get away with it and never be brought to justice.
You can spot them now, and now I'm just starting to. The thing is funny is certain people, as soon as you tell certain lies to me, I know I kind of know what's up, even if I don't know all the specifics. But now I'm starting to find out about, you find out about people you always liked that were saying the right thing, and meaning
and not being held down for it. Yes,
and then all of a sudden you'll see, without being specific about any person, I'm telling you, but you'll see them suddenly say something that makes no sense after they just told you all this. People I've learned stuff from, and I'm like, this is a motive
a
here.
big curveball at you, and
Right.
change their whole mindset. Yep.
And I don't. That's the thing. I don't
bait
care.
and switch. Bait and switch.
Yeah, I'm only looking at the fruits of your works, or the works of your fruits in showbiz, I guess you could say. And that's it. And I don't. Hey, everybody's nice. I like everybody. I don't care about high school or who your dad was, or we cover the TPUSA bizarre Luciferian thing that they do. What do you believe, Candace? No. What's that?
People have to get into philosophy. They have to understand mindsets, ideologies that are operating. That's how you're going to understand what's underneath what drives their behavior.
I think there's some reality to this.
When you understand these people's mindset, all their behavior suddenly makes sense. It doesn't look like chaos anymore. It looks like, wow, this is their mindset in operation. This is their agenda that's reflective of their mindset. That's why the alternative media community has to stop just trying to analyze events, everyday events. Everyday events are going to be the same thing until the end of time. If you don't understand mindset and you don't understand the why that underlies behavior, you don't understand anything. So I want to wrap up the sins and get into what are the systems that are operating.
Yeah, right.
Because again, that's where people have to make a personal choice. Are they going to be on God's side or are they going to be on the satanic side? So the third satanic sin.
Or just good versus evil, but like they throw a fucking label on it like God or Satan, but Satanist church or just a regular church. There's all either positive forces versus negative forces and shit. It's all an energy thing, but
behind stupidity and pretentiousness is solipsism. Solipsism is the belief that there's no such thing as truth.
Right.
Everything is just relative, and your perception is the only thing you can
That's
be
very
sure of.
interesting, that one in particular to me, because
And they're telling their members, don't be a solipsist. So try to really understand what they're saying by this list. This list is saying we, as Satanists, as the rulers of the world, should never buy into these things, but we should always propagate these things to our slaves.
It's pretty wild to me that so many people accept the illusion of
The
success.
slave class should buy into all of this crap. The rulers should always steer clear of this crap. Okay? That's what has to be understood. So the Satanists here are saying solipsism is garbage. We should propagate that to the garbage we're ruling over and give them this garbage mindset. But as a Satanist, you should never buy into this. So solipsism is number 3. Number 4 is self-deceit. Think about it again. We shouldn't deceive ourselves, but we should deceive everybody else and get them to deceive themselves in their ignorance and in their garbage mindset. Okay? And look around. How many people are self-deceitful? How many people aren't even on their own side?
Damn, that's deep.
Completely the opposite of their own interests.
Not even on their own side. Yep.
Not even on their own
Yeah.
side. They're playing for the opposite team. They've been given the playbook of the opposite team.
Yeah.
They slap it out of somebody's hand and say, screw you, I don't want to look at that. I don't care who you are or where you came from. And I'm going to basically do what's outside of my team's interest and my own interest, and I'm going to help the other team kick our ass. And that's what most people are because of their own self-deceit.
Yeah, they have no idea what the teams are. They just know belonging to the herd ultimately is the most important tool of survival.
Much love.
No, how are you
Marky.
even supposed to know what the teams are? Schools across the board don't teach important parts of history, and you should know that by how bored you are. Real history is fire as fuck, dude, and it's been new
Sin, herd conformity.
grasp of history, but maybe that's a good thing. And the reality is that my boredom caused me not to be indoctrinated into nonsense and to think for myself when I got there.
And that's
then,
next.
yeah.
That's the next satanic sin.
Oh.
Herd conformity. Imagine that.
Really?
Right? Herd conformity. And how many people are just members of the cattle, of the goyim? How many people are just cattle that are under a form of chattel
Sending
slavery
your
that
love,
just can't be
positive
seen
healing energy,
readily?
baby.
Right.
You know, because it's called government. Because it's called authority. over
Also,
other
there's a
people.
13th Amendment that makes slavery legal. Nobody's aware of that. Slavery is legal here still.
How many people are just rabid conformists? They're just like part of a program that's running. This illustrates the principle of programmability as human nature. How many people are just rabid herd conformists? They just take the programming from their culture and then they just run with it, and they never challenge how they think, who they believe they are, their view of themselves, their whole mental worldview was never even challenged.
Well, don't ruin Indiana Jones for me, dude. That's my childhood.
Number 6 is a lack of perspective. And again, I'm not going to get deep into each one, but most people have no perspective in life. 7 is the forgetfulness of past orthodoxies, which just means you haven't learned from history. And the organizations and people who have really shaped history and the mindsets that have shaped history, and you haven't learned from any of that. You're just stuck in the moment, believing that everything is just as it is, as you perceive it, and there's nothing that shaped that from behind the scenes.
Wait, that's why I'm supposed to just be in the moment all the time and not,
like an animal.
like
Right?
a animal, yeah.
Like
I think this is somewhere I can add.
Satanism also teaches that human beings are just animals like any other animal. And no, that isn't true. Human beings are a higher class of animals because of the ability of our neocortex to actually learn and comprehend and grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and to really understand these systems that are operating all around us. And animals cannot really do that. They don't have the complexity in mind, in brain, in thought process that allows for that, whereas human beings do. We are not just animals. We are a higher order of consciousness than just other animals. And if you don't believe that, number one, you're not very understanding of biology and real science, and number 2, you're also completely out of the loop when it comes to epigenetics and what truly shapes the forces of the mind. Number 8 is counterproductive pride, and this is what people who don't want to acknowledge that they have been wrong in the past and latched onto bad belief systems. They have pride that keeps them operating against their own interests. See, if I was one of those morons, I would still be laying in bed feeling sorry for myself that I got involved in Satanism and just still staying attached to the same belief systems and mental processes that put me there.
Right.
And I wouldn't have changed and learned and really,
Just in case any Satanists are peeping my...
I would never have grown from the knowledge that I garnered. I
Sounds
just
like a
would have stayed
breakup.
right there.
Sounds like a bad breakup or something. Like the thing was just depressed for a while. Like, how could I fall in love with this awful thing?
Absolutely. Very interesting way of putting it, but yes. But most people stay in that counterproductive pride because the ego is operating so strongly. This is the first tenet of Satanism, that they can't say I was wrong.
Right.
The ego isn't I'm Mr. Macho Man and I could do no wrong. The ego is I can't acknowledge that I was wrong about what I previously believed or how I previously acted, and I can't say I'm sorry. The ego latches us firmly into a belief system and won't allow us to come out of it and acknowledge that we had been previously wrong, and then repent and make amends for being that wrong in our mind and in our behavior. This is why the mark of the beast biblically is carried in the head and in the hand, because it's our thoughts and our deeds that we are attached to and we can't say I was wrong about. And that's what gives us the beast mentation, the satanic mindset.
Right.
And the last one is lack of aesthetics. And this means you just don't understand the difference between what truly is good versus what truly is bad or wrong.
For a second.
Especially when it comes to how things should be operating or working. It's not just about just the look of things. It goes deeper than that. But again, I've broken those down sufficiently to help people understand this is what the Satanist says to their own ranks. Never do these things. Never believe in these things. This is all trash. This is what defines a trash bag mindset.
Yeah, right.
This is what defines a mind full of garbage. And then you look at the whole population and you realize this is everything the whole population buys into and thinks.
Yes.
Because they've been inculcated into being a slave of Satanism.
Thanks.
Yup. Now we on the next video. I thought that was interesting because I did not know that the fucking Satanists had their own type of sins. This shit was wild. And the sins corresponds with like how they fuck with our society. The shit crazy. What's this the next one? I forgot what
One of
this
the
was
biggest
about.
ways that the system controls people is that it tells people to ignore their experiences of reality. This is a huge thing, about this realm that I've noticed is that, people tell you that your experience is hallucination, ignition is coincidence, right? And one of the ways that this manifests is that, you know, if you succeed in the world, if you succeed in the system, people say it's because you did everything right. You followed all the rules, you did everything right. It's because of the system that you were able to succeed. And if you ever have a personal failure, you know, if you ever do something and it doesn't work out, and even if you do everything right and it doesn't work out, people will tell you that it's because of your own personal failures, right? The system seems to get all the credit and none of the blame, right? Institutional corruption, just general, you know, random circumstance, luck, you know, whether or not people slight you, whether or not people betray you, like these are not factors that, you know, people even consider, right? People just want to, you know, pretend like the system is all right, that everything is all right, and that, you know, any failure that you come across or anything bad that happens to you, any failure that you have in the system is because you didn't work hard enough, you didn't try hard enough. And this is very much related to like the boomer mentality, right? This idea that, you know, anytime you fail in life or anytime you go through a negative experience that damages you in some way, it's because you didn't pull your bootstraps hard enough. You didn't work hard enough, right? It's all, you know, you got soft hands. You weren't tough enough. You're just being a bitch, right? It's never that there's, you know, negative circumstances in life that can happen to you because of, you know, luck, because of institutional corruption. You know, that is not something that enters the mind of, you know, especially a boomer, but like you see this type of person, this type of gaslighting person, you know, everywhere you go, which is that, you know, people tell you that it's always on you if you don't succeed, that it's never. And here's the thing, I do believe in a balanced view on this stuff. I do think that you should control the things that you can control, right? I do think that there are some people that, you know, like they didn't do everything right, or they made mistakes, and there was also a lot of things that were outside of their control that, you know, led to them, you know, failing in life, for example. But I do think that there are a lot of people that, you know, fail upward. There are a lot of people that, you know, they do everything wrong. They, you know, they constantly make mistake after mistake, and they're able to fail upward. Whereas, you know, there are, you know, a lot of people that, you know, do everything right and they're still beaten down by life. And if we go to, you know, the fallacy that is behind all of this, right? The just world fallacy. If you don't know what the just world fallacy is, it's essentially this Disney movie, Disney brained belief that, you know, that the world is just and fair, that, you know, everyone gets what they deserve, that, you know, this idea that, you know, and this is sort of related to the idea of karma, right? This idea that, you know, bad people get punished and good people are always rewarded, that, you know, doing the right thing, doing everything right is always rewarded by the system, which is not true. And this is the primary thing where you get, you know, the sort of gaslighting by the boomers, you get the gaslighting by people. Anytime you, you know, anytime you experience failure, anytime you, you know, do something and it doesn't work out, you know, there's always going to be people who, you know, they have this sort of implicit belief that, you know, the world is fair, that the world is just, that the system rewards those who do everything right. And so that they'll always blame institutional problems on you. They never blame the system, right? Yet again, it's because the world is just, the world is fair, right? It's like a Disney movie. It's like everyone gets their happy ending if you do everything right. If you follow the rules, then you'll get rewarded in the end, which is not true, right? And another thing that I've noticed about this is the fact that people tell you to ignore your experiences of reality and to try again, essentially. They tell you to do the same thing and expect different results. This is one of the big things that I've noticed where, you know, if you have, you know, if you have like
Christianity,
you know, negative experiences about, you know, a certain group of people, a system, you know, just anything in this reality, people will tell you to just ignore it and to try again, right?
Yep, ignore it.
You know, you're not having enough faith in the system. You're not having enough trust in the system, right? You're not being gullible enough, right? The ceiling says gullible, bro. Look up. Right? Look up. Just the ceiling says gullible, bro. Just you need to have faith, bro. Trust me, bro. Just look up. Right? Don't you just ignore all that data that you gathered in your personal experience of reality. Ignore all that and just, you know, just be gullible again. Just try again, right? And you know, it's because you didn't do something right those 1,000 other times that you tried. You did it wrong. Like you did it in the wrong way. It was something that you did. You didn't work hard enough. It was that you're not enough, right? And that's one of the biggest ways that, you know, people get sort of, you know, repeatedly scammed by the system, is that people tell them to just, you know, ignore their pattern recognition, ignore their
gotta go lay down. All right, though.
In order to get scammed again, in order to, you know, get scammed by the system, because people tell you, oh, you just need to have faith.
Sending you love and positive energy.
Right? You know, like your experience, that was just you. It was just you. It was an exception. Even if you experience this pattern just repeatedly throughout your lifespan, people will tell you that, oh, it was an exception. It was just a coincidence. That's just you, bro. That's not reality. It's just you, right? And gaslighting is definitely insane when it comes to that you know, that type of stuff, right? And I think that, you know, listening to your gut instincts and your pattern recognition is essential for this realm. I think that, you know, you should never ignore your personal experience of reality. I think that your personal experience of reality, the patterns that you recognize from those experiences, and your gut intuition, your gut instinct, I think that these are really holy things that you should really value, you know, above everything else. I think that, you know, these are things that are, you know, your direct experience with reality, your direct, you know, especially your gut instinct, which is, you know, that you have the ability to feel things out. You have the ability to, you know, feel out things before you get logical proof, or before you get physical evidence. You can have, you know, like an instinct or an intuition about something before you get physical evidence of it. So I think that those are very important things, and I think that you should never trust anyone that tells you to ignore your experiences or to tell you to stop seeing patterns in your reality. Anyone that tells you that you should ignore your experiences, that you should ignore the patterns that you see, like anyone that makes you feel like you're a bad person, anyone that makes you feel like you're crazy, anyone that tries to shame you for having this as a part of your having this as like a part of your way of navigating reality. Like people who shame you for listening to your pattern recognition, people who shame you for listening to your personal experiences, people who shame you for doing this. They're not. These are people that want you gone. They want you dead. They want you gone. You're cannon fodder to them. They just want you to plug in and to feed off of your energy. They want to feed off of your energy like a battery. They want you plugged into the system. And this is also another thing that, like, another line that I've heard a lot from people is, like, people will tell you, like, if you're not doing things in a traditional sense, if you're not living life in a traditional way, right? Like if you're not, if you're not in the typical pipeline of go to college, go work a job for the rest of your life, or whatever. If you're not in the traditional pipeline, people will say like, oh, you're such wasted potential. You're such wasted potential, right? And like these people, like, they don't care about your potential for your life. They care about your potential to be useful to the system.
Yep.
Right. And so never let people gaslight you and tell you that you should ignore your experiences of reality, that you should ignore the patterns that you see, that you should ignore the gut instincts and the intuitions that you have. Because these people, they do not have your best interest at heart. They do not care about you. They see you as cannon fodder, and they want you gone. They want you used up and spat out by this corrupt system that we're living in, right? But yeah, that's the video.
All right. Now we on the last video. Is the body a prison? Let's go.
The physical body is a prison. The prison planet starts with the physical body, right? Like the first thing that we all do whenever we enter into this realm of existence, whenever we enter into this plane of existence, is that we, like, babies cry. That's the first thing that everyone does whenever they arrive here. So that is something that is very interesting to see, is that like the first thing that we all do is we scream in pain and agony and confusion whenever we arrive here, right? And one of the other aspects of like the body being a prison is the fact that we're basically, like, especially human beings, we're basically useless or codependent for the first 8 to 10 years of our lifespan, right? But like one of the main things that I think makes the physical body a kind of prison is the fact that the body seems to be calibrated to feel pain more intensely than pleasure, right? And a good thought experiment for this is to basically to compare the most intense physical pain that you've ever experienced and the most intense physical pleasure that you've ever experienced, and to compare the two together. And if you compare the two, chances are that the most intense physical pain that you've experienced is likely like 10 times more intense than anything physically pleasurable that you've experienced. And so it does seem to be that the physical body seems to be calibrated to maximize how easy it is to feel physical pain, that it's easier to feel pain than it is to feel pleasure, which definitely contributes to misery, suffering, illusion harvesting, the negative emotional energy that's generated from that. And in my personal experience, like the most physically painful thing that I've experienced in my life has been like whenever I had an asthma attack when I was a little kid, and I remember being hospitalized for 4 days straight. And I was literally like suffocating to death for 4 days straight. And I was awake the entire time also because I tried falling asleep because I was really fucking tired. But I literally couldn't fall asleep because of the fact that I was suffocating to death. I was literally suffocating to death for 4 days straight. And I was all like crying. I just wanted it to stop. And I would say that that's the most intense physical pain that I've experienced. That was some like real Hellraiser shit that I went through. And there's no physical pleasure that I've experienced, at least so far, that's ever compared to that type of thing, right? So I think that that's the first sort of major thing about like the body being sort of a prison for the soul, is the fact that it does seem to be calibrated to maximize physical pain over physical pleasure, right? And the second thing that makes the body a prison is you have physical disabilities. Like if you're an able-bodied person, like the body is a prison. It's its own sort of prison, but especially for the physically disabled, if you're someone who has some genetic disorder, if you have cerebral palsy, if you're paraplegic, if you're paralyzed from the neck down, if you're someone who has if you get like bone cancer is something that is really horrifying, right? If you look at like the body's susceptibility to illness, right? Like there was this one girl that I met in college, like whenever I went to college for a semester, there was this one girl that I met who talked about how she lived her early years in and out of hospitals because of the fact that she had a compromised immune system. I don't remember the exact details, but there was something about her immune system that made her susceptible to illness, and that she lived in and out of hospitals for most of her early years. And so it's the body is its own sort of prison, but especially if you're someone with physical disabilities and also like mental disabilities as well. If you look at someone like people with Down syndrome or people with genetic disabilities that give them just like a lower capacity to think or to be aware. Like that is definitely something that is terrifying. It's like you're an infinite spark of consciousness, and then you get put into a body of that is basically like a potato. Essentially, if you look at like the computing power of a potato, you're basically crammed into there. And so it is a very horrifying and sort of almost like a humiliating thing. For like you're like an infinite spark of consciousness, you're like a divine spark, and you get shoved into a body that's like a literal prison, where it's like if you have like cerebral palsy or something, like that you're literally stuck inside of a body that is like useless, that you can't move anywhere without the assistance of someone else, you can't take a shit without being assisted by someone else, you have to like be fed by someone else. It's so it is like a very like a humiliating thing for like consciousness to have to go through that experience. So it does seem to be like a humiliation ritual for the people who are physically disabled or mentally disabled. It's almost like a humiliation of consciousness. Especially for those people, not just for the people who are, able-bodied and like it's easier for the body to feel pain, but especially for the people who are susceptible to illness, who have, genetic disabilities, physical disabilities, where the body is even more of a prison for those people than the able-bodied individuals, right? And you look at the body's susceptibility to injury. Like, here's the thing: like physical pain wouldn't be as much of a problem if you could actually heal, if you could like grow back your limbs like a salamander. Like if you get into like a live leak accident, like a Chinese steel mill accident where like a piece of machinery falls into your arm and your arm is cut off or something, it wouldn't be as much of a problem if like that limb is going to grow back in 2 weeks, right? But that's not the case with the body, where it's like if you get any major injury, it's like it's wraps for you. Like if you get paralyzed from the waist down, it's fucking wraps for you. Like there's no significant healing from serious injuries. Like the body does heal from minor injuries, of course, but when it comes to like serious injuries, there's a lot of people that don't come back from that type of stuff. Where it's like if you get hit by a drunk driver and you get paralyzed from the neck down, or if you get into like a horse accident, like Christopher Reeve, like where he gets like paralyzed from the neck down, he has to wheel himself around in the wheelchair. Like there's really no coming back from that type of stuff. And so it does seem to be like the body is sort of like maximized for physical pain and like experiencing injury without any like rectification or like repair. So it does seem to be like there's like an imbalance in terms of like how the body is sort of designed to experience pain and to experience injury. Without any rectification, without anything to balance it out, right? And another thing about like the physical body is like even if you're an able-bodied person, right, you're still bound by the laws of physics. You're still bound by like the physical form that you're born with is something that you're bound with. Like, and this is something that I've always found to be, very attractive in fiction, is like this idea of like changing it to different animals, right? Like being able to shapeshift into different animals was something that I've always felt like that was an interesting thing to do, or being like fucking Jake the dog in Adventure Time or something. Just being able to change your physical form at will is definitely something that I think is very liberating. But
there was a show back in the day called Animorphs. It was a show about some kids in the neighborhood, and if I can remember, they used to shapeshift into animals and solve mysteries in their neighborhood. I used to watch Animorphs and a show called Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider was about kids in the neighborhood solving mysteries led by a ghost. And the ghost talks to the kids through the computer. And it flies around sometimes. It's like a weird ass motherfucking little graphic that flies around. And the show be like, Ghost Rider, word. And this was the show that made me buy my first composition book, because like everybody have to have their composition books when they write down the mysteries and all the motherfucking shit that Ghost Rider wants you to write down and shit. I felt like I was one of the Ghost Rider kids because they kind of brought us into the show. It was a great show. I could probably say the only light of my childhood, but like at the time I was seeing it, I was staying with my auntie. May she rest with the ancestors. But shout out to my auntie Demetra. But it was a great fucking show. Man, that was a great show. Ghost Rider and Animorphs. But like Animorphs, it felt kind of creepy, but like it wasn't a creepy show. It was just like creepy when they started transforming like a little bit, because I was young when I saw it. But it was a great show.
Stuck in this one singular form where it doesn't seem like we have the ability to really change our form in any way that's significantly deviant from what we're born with, genetically, right? And I definitely think that if you look at like the whole choose your character thing, like before you're born, right? Like there's certain attributes that you're born with, that you can't realistically change throughout your life. So if you like the race that you're born as, the gender that you're born as, the height that you have, your looks and your attractiveness on your face, or like how chopped you are, like whether or not you're chopped, it can definitely determine, how hellish that your experience in this reality is. And it's also something that is like, the thing about like race that's very interesting is like the fact that I do think that, what race you're born as can definitely determine like how hellish your experience is, like, or it can tailor the experience of this realm to you specifically. If you're someone who's like,
Tammy, what up,
if your soul is
much
a
love,
very,
much love.
if you're someone who's like very free spirited and you don't like being told what to do, you might get born as like an Asian person with strict Asian parents, because that's like a part of some parts of Asian culture is like, like strict parents that like tell you what to do. You get pressure to become a doctor, you get pressure to get good grades, you get like forced to play the violin. I know that that's like a stereotype, but that's something that is like based on on reality. There's like this whole like living vicariously through your children, trying to force your children to be a certain thing, right? So if that is something that is disgusting or repulsive to your soul, you might get born as a certain race, right? If you're someone who, and it makes me think of like this one video that I saw from this guy. I think his YouTube channel was called Sloth, and he talks about how like he's a black dude and he's sort of ostracized by other black people for not being, stereotypically ghetto, right? So if you're someone who like, if your soul doesn't like aspects of like black ghetto culture, you might be like, all right, you're gonna be born as a black person. And then you get ostracized, you get called like an Oreo or an Uncle T or whatever the fuck, right? Or if you're someone who, you might get born as a white person in a majority black neighborhood, you might get born as a black person in a majority white neighborhood. It's stuff like that where I think that it's very easy to like the fact that race is such a touchy subject, right? The fact that people it's very easy to start conflict. It's very easy to start, like the social isolation, the social shaming, on the basis of race. It's very easy to start to like generate loosh on the basis of race, depending on like what culture, you're like the race that you're born as is associated with. So that definitely can affect, the kind of loosh, like the flavor of loosh that you generate, on this planet, right? And I definitely think that also like whether or not you're born as a man or a woman, depending on your geographical location as well. Or like it's almost like I sentence you to be born as a woman in the Middle East, right? Like, can you imagine? Like that definitely is like a hellish experience if you're born as like a woman inside of a country with like Sharia law that allows like child marriage to like a 6-year-old or something, right? Like that whole thing can definitely add to the hellishness of your experience. Like not only like the race you're born as, not only like whether or not you're a man or a woman, but also like your spawn point, right? So you can essentially be like fucking spawn camped by the demiurge, essentially, depending on where you're born, right? Where it's like, and imagine if it was like time travel rules. So it was like I sentence you to be a black person during Jim Crow. I sentence you to be like a white guy in the UK, like right now. Like right now, like the way that the UK is with like mass immigration, like the way that the media sort of demonizes white people. But that is another thing too, where it's like, or if you're born as like a white person in a country that sort of demonizes you for being white, or if you're born into a southern town or whatever that demonizes you for being black, if you're like it goes both ways. It's not like oh like this race or that, like your racial circumstances could definitely and your spawn point, your geographical location can definitely determine the type of loosh that you generate, the type of experiences and how ostracized you are by society, depending on where you're born at, right? But also like if you want to talk about like men versus women, right? Like the menstrual cycles and periods are definitely that's definitely something that is extremely horrifying to me. Like this idea of like you get stomach cramps and you bleed out of your private parts every month. And the interesting thing about this, and this is a very sort of schizo take that I have, is that like you look at like how periods are correlated with the lunar cycles. You look at how like periods and menstrual cycles are correlated with the lunar cycles, and you look at like the Saturn moon matrix. You look at how like the moon fucks with the energy bodies of people. You look at how like the emergency room encounters more activity during a full moon. You look at how like police officers will tell you that there's more crime during a full moon. So it definitely makes me think like I don't think that menstrual cycles are normal. I don't think that that's natural. I definitely think that there's something that has been fucked with in terms of like the energy body of women specifically. Right. So like yet again, like whether or not you're born as a woman can determine like the physical suffering that you experience as well. Right. But if you want to talk about like geographical location, if you want to sort of extrapolate on that, I definitely think that demonic entities and like the archons, they definitely sort of cluster around certain locations. Like the more miserable, like the more third world misery there is, it does seem to be that there's more demons there to sort of harvest the energy. Or like it makes me even think just locations like schools, hospitals, funeral homes, cemeteries, like offices where there's like a lot of like toxic coworkers that gossip about you, like narcissistic like HR people, right? There's stuff like that. I definitely think that demons will cluster around major cities in order to harvest loosh, in order to harvest energy. So whenever it comes to location, like whether or not you're born into a major city where there's like more people, it's more of a rat cage, it's more susceptible to generating loosh, there's more susceptibility to conflict or whatever. Like that is definitely something that affects your experience. Is like whether or not you're in a place that it encounters a higher concentration of demons. Because I definitely think that it's almost like that anime Jujutsu Kaisen, where it's like the cursed spirits will sort of
He
form
on it.
around places like
He's on that
schools or
coat.
office
That's what's
buildings where
up.
there's like a lot of negative energy. I definitely think that like stuff like hospitals as well, where like there's more death, there's more physical suffering, there's more grieving that happens in these locations. So I definitely think that location is something that is a very interesting topic of discussion, right? And like another thing that's interesting about, if you want to talk about like third world countries, like how third world a country is, it does seem to be that and I noticed this especially with like South Asian countries and like a lot of Latin American countries, is like the more third world the conditions are, the more normalized witchcraft and like entity worship is. If you look at like for example, like my dad was like a missionary and he went to Mexico on one of his mission trips, and he talked about how they practice Santeria. Like that's the Mexican witchcraft that they practice in Mexico, where they cut off chicken heads and they make offerings to the patron saints. That's something that the cartels in Mexico practice. Is they practice this Santeria. They practice the Mexican witchcraft, where they make offerings to these patron saints and whatever. And so if you grow up in a society where it's more normalized to worship demons, it's more normalized to cast hexes onto people and to sacrifice animals and stuff like that, then obviously your state of consciousness is going to be more susceptible, and your culture and your society as a whole is going to be more open to demonic invasion, right? This is what we're experiencing on the planet, right? Is that we're experiencing an interdimensional invasion.
See, I'm sorry I can't be anything at this time without true communication.
Of this space, of this of this realm, through the astral plane, from these demonic entities, and so that does seem to be a thing that is correlated with like how clustered demons are, and especially if you look at like South Asian countries, if you look at countries like India, where there's garbage everywhere, there's people shitting in the streets and all this other stuff. If you look at like the culture there, like they worship like these multi-armed, Nephilim entities, right? Like the bulging eyes, like the multiple arms, like they're like giant entities with like the the teeth sticking out. And a lot of the statues in like Hinduism are very creepy to me. Right. So I think that yet again, if you grow up in a culture where that's normalized, then it definitely makes your consciousness more susceptible to possession, because you get exposed to that imagery earlier on. You get exposed to the rituals. You get exposed to like the dark magic and the witchcraft earlier on. And so it's more normalized for you to have that enter into your consciousness, right? But going back to like the physical body as a prison, right? Like the body at the end of the day, like the body is a container for the soul. It reminds me of sort of like Bob Lazar, like whenever he talks about how like the alien, the sort of gray entities, the gray aliens, they talk about us. They talk about human beings as containers for the soul. They call us containers. That this idea that like we're not our physical body. We are not of this world. We're not the bodies that we inhabit. Right. So I think that obsessing over political, national, racial identities, that's definitely it's a divide and conquer tactic. First of all, to wrap your whole identity around being a black person, wrap your whole identity around being a white person, wrap your whole identity around being a Latino person, being an Asian person. Right? Like if you wrap your whole identity around like the attributes of your physical body, that's definitely something that it attaches you to this realm, but it also feeds into the whole divide and conquer, where humanity is too busy fighting amongst themselves in order to see that there's non-human interdimensional invading entities, that there's fucking lizard people, there's fucking gray aliens that are running the whole show. And so it's almost kind of interesting how it's like we should replace human racism with like alien racism. We need to come up with fucking slurs we need to come up with slurs for the reptilians. We need to come up with
It's easy. Humans versus aliens. Viva la revolution. It's that simple. I said this motherfucker years ago. I'm like, they want to trigger a race war. Let's have a race war. The human race versus the alien race. How about that? That'll fuck their heads up.
First for the lizard people, man. And here's the thing.
I've been saying this, though.
We're very good at being racist, okay? So if we can just direct that energy towards a more positive, to a more fucking positive,
like I say, direct all this energy from killing each other to killing the government, it'll be all good. You know what I'm saying? Viva la revolution. He understands.
I definitely think that is an interesting thing. But yet again, that whole divide and conquer tactic, that is something that I do notice with like the algorithm. That the algorithm is definitely, especially nowadays, like it definitely pushes more for racial division, men versus women, the political divide, the political puppet show of like right wing versus left wing, like what nationality you are. Like these are all things that and here's the thing, like I'm not one of those blue pill people who doesn't acknowledge that there's certain realities. Like you can show like the whole global IQ map and stuff like that. Like I understand, right? Like I'm not going to be someone who is going to shy away from that just because whatever, just because it's not politically correct. But at the same time, I do think that we are divine sparks inside of physical bodies, and so I think that identifying with these physical forms is definitely a trap. It's definitely something that, you know, it ties us into this realm, it attaches us to this realm, and it definitely prevents us from detaching and escaping from this reality if our entire identity is tied up in like the video game avatar that we are inside of the body. Yet again, the body is a container. We are containers for something else. That like whenever we die, all that gets left behind anyway. And so I think that is more of like my perspective whenever it comes to this stuff. And it is kind of interesting because you know, I think that, you know, my concern is more of like, you know, are you an NPC? Are you like an energy vampire? Are you a narcissist? Are you a player character? Right. And that's more of my concern nowadays. Like, I'm not necessarily concerned about, you know, socio-political, you know, racial, you know, religious, you know, nationality.
Basically, he's saying like the fucking shit I'm on now. Like, if I'm meeting people, it's like, are you connected with Source? Shout out to Low Key, because like he on the same shit. I remember him saying this before, but it's like, man, it's like, are you connected with Source, or are you an NPC? You know, are you following the trends and shit? I'm trying to talk to people with a head on their shoulders and with a soul. I ain't trying to talk to no NPC. You know what I'm saying? Give me someone with a brain that can think, and that's willing to be open-minded. You know? But everybody else.
There was a time in my life where I used to be obsessed over that. I used to be obsessed over race. I used to be obsessed over, you know, like what race I am, what races I like, what races I dislike, what yada yada yada. Like, I used to be obsessed over that, but now I think that it's more of like you know, like, yet again, the body is a container for the soul. And now, like, my perspective is like, I'm more concerned with like schizos versus psychos versus the normies. Like, that's the caste system that I'm sort of approaching this with, you know, nowadays. But you know, and it is another thing too, which is that, you know, I think if you could see people's souls outwardly displayed as their bodies, I think we'd all be different types of fantasy creatures. I don't think that we're all one humanity. I think that, you know, this idea that we're all one humanity is fucking bullshit. I think that there's wolves, there's cats, there's dogs, there's snakes, there's mice, there's rats, right? Like, and it makes me think of like the whole like the new age of sort of starseed and stuff. Like, I'm very, you know, against new agey stuff, but it does sort of start to make sense if you look at like the whole starseed stuff. That like, oh, okay, like if you feel like you're an alien inside of a human body, you might literally be an alien inside of a human body. Or something like that. Like, I definitely think that, you know, we're not all the same humanity. I definitely think that if you could see people's souls, if you could put on like those sort of sunglasses from, you know, They Live, I definitely think that, you know, you could definitely see people, you know, as different fantasy creatures. There'd be like goblins, there'd be zombies, there'd be dwarves, there'd be, you know, dragons, there'd be like all these different types of stuff. And so I definitely think that that's more of what my concern is nowadays. But you know, going back to the original subject of the video, I definitely think that, you know, height and looks is something that people talk about as, you know, something that determines how you know, how well you're treated and how poorly you're treated. And it makes me think of like you know, like what if there's like a higher concentration of player characters that are chopped? Like, what if all the chopped people are the real people? And what if like all the you know, conventionally attractive people are more likely to be fake? Right. And I don't know, it is kind of interesting because I have experienced this thing before where it's like I'll look at someone who's conventionally attractive, and there's something about them that's off to me. Like they'll look conventionally attractive on the outside, but there's something about their grimace, like whenever they do like that fake smile or whatever, that just it's sort of off to me. Like they have that sort of the sort of Phoenician mask sort of grimace that they do that's sort of off to me. And then I'll talk to someone who's, you know, chopped or whatever, and like there's more of like a real energy to the person who's like, they're not conventionally attractive, they're not conventionally, you know, good looking necessarily, but there's more of like a real energy to the chuds. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that, you know, the body, that if we want to talk about the body as a prison, like the body as like a way of, you know, like you know, like the body that you're born in being sort of determinate of like what, you know, of like how much misery you go through. I definitely think that, you know, like the more chopped you are, like if you're like a 5'3", if you're a 5'3", you know, guy who's like chopped and you don't look at, you get treated like the scum of the earth by society. It really is a thing that really does happen. It really is like a thing where, you know, people.
Not tall, short guys. Not tall, short guys. I understand, like, you probably seen the experiences, but you know, like I'm 5'7", I'm considered, you know, a short guy, but you know, like we don't go through as much shit as he talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Saying looks don't matter, it's about personality, but society does.
But there is a percentage of what he's saying that is true, because like most bitches want the tall guy. And I'm like, well, I'm taller than you. She's like, well, I want someone taller than you. I'm like, okay, bitch, fuck you then. Why the fuck you want to look like a child to a nigga? But okay. You want to be picked up and lifted around, bitch. I have muscles. I can lift 225. You like 110, 119, baby. I got you. Lift you up.
Differently, depending on how you look, and that's something that is an aspect of the body, like the genetics that you're born with, too. So that also definitely contributes.
Yeah,
to
but like you can also change that shit by eating right, exercising. You know what I'm saying? You can, be cool. You can't change your height. And if a chick don't fuck with you because you're short, oh well, they can move on. It's like, what, nigga, how many women in this fucking world? Well, like 4 billion or some shit. Come on now.
like the negative energy, the loosh harvesting that you might experience in this realm, right? But yeah, I definitely think that attaching yourself to the aspects of the physical body, trying to identify yourself with like the body that you're born in, that's definitely that definitely is a trap. And I definitely think that the body does play a huge role in sort of like the confinement of the soul and how people sort of experience this realm. I definitely think that the prison planet starts with the body. Yet again, the container that the body is a container for the soul, that it's something that binds and imprisons the soul in something that is limited, that is bounded by the laws of physics, that feels pain more than pleasure, right? So I definitely think that is something to sort of think about whenever you look at the aspects of this realm, right? But yeah, that's the video.
Yep. Now that is this body a prison? Now, going back, like I said at the beginning, the Gnostics thought the planet was a prison, the body is a prison, and the only way out is through gnosis, knowledge of self. Okay, so that be the end of it. I hope everybody have a cool day, cool afternoon, cool evening, and cool night. About to get ready to lay on down and probably watch some more stuff on some knowledge shit. Like I think I came across something. About to check it out. I think I saw something on what the hell? It was something. I fucking just scrolled past it. Yeah, I was just some motherfucker like notifications was just like popping up, some Star Wars and not Star Wars, but some Star Trek. And I saw some shit called the Symbols of the Archons and the Demiurge Final Trap. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check that out. Yeah. It's like, I'm fucking pissed. It's Sophia. You ever heard her? Yeah, that's in the Gnostic scripts. Yep, I read the Secret Book of John and some books from the Nag Hammadi library about Sophia and how she didn't want to go with the natural order, fucked herself and made y'all the day off. She was like, oh shit, what the fuck I created to cast that nigga into fucking darkness and shit. That motherfucker woke up and just start creating shit. He created the physical universe. That's if it's real. But when people ask the question on how the universe was created, and the only fucking source is, like there's a source that says Gnostics. Like the Gnostic scripts, but we can go to Hindu mythology. It's like shit. It was what was it? Vishnu and Brahma. And then Shiva popped up out of nowhere, and we can go with that, or we could go with shit. There's so many creation myths, but for people that want to get that real one, like how was the universe created? You know what I'm saying? Then people go as far back as to shit. In the beginning, there was the Word. And the Word was God, and the Word was with God. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever a person believe, but like when it comes to the Sophia shit, the Sophia shit wasn't the shit that intrigued me mostly. What intrigued me mostly is the creation of the physical universe. Once I found out that, like it was Sophia, it was like it kind of like brought common sense into perspective. It's like if God is a man who made God type shit, and we think about pregnancy, like God had to come out of a fucking woman. Just looking at the common sense on a spiritual level. So it's like, it came from a female. And this is why we have 7 or 12 primordial goddesses and shit, and people worshiping great mothers and shit. It gotta be something to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it is what it is. But me personally, I'm gonna fuck if it's Sophia, the Galactic Federation, Jesus, God, Yahweh, Brahma, Vishnu, Ganesha, Allah. Y'all motherfuckers ain't doing shit about the fucked up shit on this planet. So all y'all catching hands if y'all real. And I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna unlock the God in me. And that same God in me protected my crib from a fucking fire in 2017. On the news, by the way, to prove that I'm motherfucking the shit. I am the master, the stall master. So, and when that moment happened, that's when I knew. I'm like, shit, when that happened, I'm like, yes, I know I'm powerful. My own sigils, my own altar work, my own affirmation, my own visualization. Protect my crib from a fire. But if I wasn't in the spirituality or religion, I'll be like, I do not know how my crib survived the fucking fire. Everything else around me burnt up to a crisp, but my apartment still stood. I'm a bad motherfucker. Like, prove your power. They go, you prove your Jesus. Here go my proof right here. Channel 4 News. I'm coming home off a midnight shift to a burnt up building, but my crib is the only one standing. I'm a bad motherfucker. My sigil's still on the wall. My altar work's still up. I'm Gucci. I prayed all my life. Jesus, get my mom off crack. Nope. Jesus changed his living arrangement because we always moving place to place, house to house, shelter to shelter, abandon to abandon, stand with people to stand with people. God, fix this. I'm praying all my goddamn life. No fucking answer. Man, 2006, 18 years old. I'm like, fuck God, fuck the devil, angels and demons. If y'all real, y'all catching hands. I'm about to do me. I'm about to do me. And what I did, went to work, came home, hustled, did my music, did shows, gave back to the community, protested with the community, did shows for the Head Start program, which is the shows for the kids, meaning I had to make clean music. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just like I let God go and I was just went all evil. No, nope. I did me, because generally I wake up, I'm a good person. I ain't fucking nobody over. I ain't lying to nobody. I ain't killing nobody. I ain't stabbing nobody, jiving nobody, manipulating anything, going to work, come home, hustle, do shows, shit. Just living my life doing me. And that felt great. I could probably say the only negative thing that happened is my baby mama. But even in the baby mama situation, thank you, phone, ding. But the only cool thing that will balance out that situation will be my daughter. So out of the bad comes the good. My daughter will be 18 at the end of this month. My daughter is grown. She going to Juilliard. She graduate. I am Gucci bandana. I did my job as a father the best I could. And out of the 100% shit I told her, she know like 80 to 85% of it. So the rest is on her. You know what I'm saying? Daddy'll be here. You ready to get the hell away from everybody. You're gonna be on a nice piece of land in a cool home that's gonna be yours. I'll be next door if you need me. It said along with the book How to Speak Russian. I'm brushing up on my Russian. We'll just be eaten by the wood eaters, I believe. That knock it say Bill in there. If you know of that book called the Nag Hammadi. Yep, I know about the Nag Hammadi. Yep, I read that in the Secret Book of John. I can prove about Jesus. Whatever Jesus you know, I always tell people to prove it. Like until I see a person on a screenshot, a text message, a photo, then that motherfucker's an imaginary friend. But I fucks with spiritual Christians. The spiritual Christians value meditation. Their Jesus is real because they live in the heart chakra. So I understand on that standpoint. But either way it go, we're still talking to ourselves because ain't no motherfucker pop up. Simple as that. This world is full of pain and suffering, murders, lies, and thieves. Jesus, where the fuck are you? Oh yeah, I forgot. When you said you're coming back, you said, I'm not taking no till of the law of my father. So and he gonna come back looking like a slain lamb with 8 eyes and a sword coming out of his mouth. Looking like a goddamn kaiju. The book of Revelation is a motherfucker. The first 10 chapters, God destroying this bitch with motherfucking vials and plagues and niggas blowing trumpets and shit, pouring vials and shit. And then Jesus pop up, slain lamb, 8 eyes, sword coming out of his mouth, surrounded by angels with eyes all over their fucking body and wings. This is some scary shit. And that's gonna be a hologram by the government, Project Bluebeam style. Can't wait till that day happen. That's the shit I'm fucking waiting on. Project Bluebeam. You gonna give us the God coming back, or you giving us the alien invasion? But since the alien disclosure happened, I think the Project Bluebeam aliens is coming first. I can't wait. That makes me so sad, but what? But what can you do, right? Yep, it makes me so sad too that people still believing in some shit that doesn't even exist. I prayed all my goddamn life. God ain't come down and save me. I grew up in the church. I joined the church. I was part of the church. Went to all the conventions, stayed rooted in my word better than the people that read they fucking Bibles. And kind of still have the memories of the shit. I cringe at the thought of still being a Christian sometimes. I remember the look in my eyes of that crazy shit. Looking like a Hebrew Israelite or a Pan-African guy. But I'm gonna never forget how when I let that shit go, a big weight was lifted. No more suffocating feeling, no more feeling like I was shackled down, no more being gaslighted and manipulated into just letting bullshit happen. Just pray about it and don't talk about it. Just pray about it. Just pray about it. Fuck all that. Motherfuckers are not changing. Motherfuckers are not changing. People are getting worse. Fuck that. Motherfucking bitch had the nerve to tell me you a good man and all, but I can't be with you because you don't believe in Jesus. But bitch, you have a crazy life. You have the nerve to say this shit to me. You got all these kids out of wedlock. Do you just tell me you just got out of fucking jail? We vibing like a motherfucker, but like, bitch, you just told me your whole life story and you got the nerve to judge me. Bitch, fuck you. You can tell a motherfucker your whole life story, they'll still consider you a demon. They already cast you out. This is why I'm only cool with open-minded Christians, spiritual Christians, Gnostic Christians, and conspiracy Christians. Out of 42,000 plus denominations of Christianity, and they still can't get it right. You know, there's radical Christians too. They blow my head off right now for talking this shit. Is that of God? No, it ain't. Was the Crusades of God? No, it wasn't. Was all these people that's killing in the name of God great? No, it wasn't. God is used and Jesus is used as a tool and a weapon to control people. And then when I find out how the fuck this bitch got to this country, oh, I really couldn't fuck with it. First, it was from personal experience and church hurt. But then when you do the research, anybody in their right mind wouldn't fuck with this shit. This shit is insanity. Or any other religion, because ain't none of them gonna get away with controlling their people. None of them. But the greatest thing about it is none of the people are real. I treat it as a book. It's full of puzzles, mysteries, riddles, contradictions, metaphors, symbolisms, parables, analogies, mythology, astronomy, numerology, and a splash of spirituality. Read the Bible in that form and I completely understood it. But there were still holes in the book. So I had to read the Dead Sea Scrolls, Secret Book of John, all the books of Maccabees, all the books that, well, not all the books of Enoch, but like the ones that they had available. The Book of Raziel, the Book of Jasher, the Book of Thomas, the Book of the 12 Tribes of Israel. Yes, they even had a book, a separate book for each of the sons. It was great. I loved it. And it filled all the holes that I needed. And then it was a conclusion. Should I follow all this shit? Nope, can't follow. Especially knowing the truth. This shit was beating us through slavery. Fuck this shit. There was already people on this land worshiping what the fuck we was worshiping. What the fuck we gonna go to Christianity for? Who was forcing this shit? And that truth alone should let anybody know. I can't fuck with it. As simple as that. This shit was forced on people that was already over here. You can read it and study it, meditate on it. But the truth is, man, this blood is full of blood shit. This book has blood all over it. Blood of my fucking ancestors. I'm straight on it. And then read a little bit of the Quran, read a little bit of Hinduism, shamanism, Buddhism, esoteric, Gnosticism. Like, this shit is awesome. Just reading everything and just pulling my truth from all shit instead of keeping myself in a box. It just felt good to just have my mind open to knowledge. I am so fucking free because I'm not following no belief system. I'm just seeking wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and truth. And it comes in all forms. Is the Bible cool? Hell no. But I fuck with it for research purposes only, because there's some shit in there that you can use. You know what I'm saying? I consider the Bible a fragment of truth. Allah, nation, a fragment of truth. Hinduism, another fragment. Shamanism, another couple fragments. Put together your puzzle of your reality. You feel me? And Christianity got a lot of motherfucking shit that they got to deal with. They need to stop downing people or just condemning people just because they don't fucking believe. It's like every other religion, besides Christianity and Islam, they're like our way or the highway. Like, nigga, fuck all that. Tell that shit to a Chinese nigga that fuck with dragons beliefs. Tell that to the motherfucker over there that still believe in Odin. You feel me? This is the only motherfucking religion that has conquered the goddamn world, telling people that they shit ain't shit. Nah, fuck all that. But there's over 42,000 plus denominations of Christianity. You may not be the one that judge. You feel me? Because in your Bible say, judge not lest ye be judged, right? But we have a lot of judgmental fucking Christians out here that will condemn me to hell for not believing. And I could tell them my whole life story, all the crazy bullshit that I have been through, and they would still dismiss my feelings, my trials and tribulations, and say, fuck me, you're going to hell, you are a demon, you're evil. Been through there, been there, done that, bought the fucking t-shirt. But I'll tell you this, it feels good to be fucking free. feels good to be free. Ugh. Fuck my glasses, and I can't see shit without my glasses. Cause I see paragraphs and shit. I can't read without my glasses. They're taking a cap, my friend. Maccabees is what you gotta know. Oh, how a mother watches all of her children follow all to be tortured. Church, no walls. I can't text this shit. You blood on your hands already. Yes, but it is not God or Jesus. It's you and what? I can't read the last part. I don't know. I don't know what you typed. What if I told you Jesus is black and hell no, it wouldn't make a fucking difference. Hell no, because the motherfucker's still not real. So it wouldn't make no difference at all. Told you, like when I was studying this shit, I was looking for truth. And then I was studying, okay, how does motherfucking shit get over here? But way before the research, it was through trials and tribulations. It was like God ain't answered none of my fucking prayers at all. My mother's on fucking crack and can't keep a roof over her fucking head. I'm moving place to place, house to house, shelter to shelter, abandon to abandon, stand with people to stand with people, praying for this shit to stop, praying for my mama's mind to be healed. But no, when a motherfucker is stupid, selfish, and stubborn and on crack, it's over. It's fucking over. It's up to the individual. And yeah, they say when 2 or 3 come together, shit get done in prayer. No, it don't. There was plenty of times when mama had many people pray over her. Nothing changed. Back to the dope house. There's only 2 or 3 times in my life that I see my mama with a fucking job. So you wonder, I'm like, how the fuck are you getting money for crack? Oh, yeah. Viewer discretion is fucking advised. So you're telling me that my brother is not real, so that you're telling me that I'm not real because I have no brother be like Santa Claus. Some older folks say Santa real, but there's some other folks. We all know Santa not real, but I wish that grown-ups know Jesus ain't real because like they keep on putting those 2 people in the same bracket. It's like you are a real individual. You could be more Jesus-like than the actual figure that actually existed. All you got to do is just help people. Simple. Help people, spread the word of love, and you're doing a better job alive than a person that didn't exist. If I have a brother, do we have no brother? And guess what? If I told you, you don't accept Jesus and your brother will also be not real, or you also just saying, man, I love. I don't understand what you're saying. I might have to read it again. I don't know what you're trying to say. Christ is your, Jesus is mine, man. I don't fuck with any of that shit. Christ, Jesus, none of that shit. None of it. Yeah, but helping people, like shit. Like it don't necessarily gotta be through action. It could be through words. It can help somebody going through motherfucker depression or something, and you just give your words of love and kindness. That can help. You know what I'm saying? Like that's helping. Feeding the homeless, like make a big ass pot of soup and go walk up to some people. Here you go. You got an extra coat. Give it to somebody that needed, you know, like shit. It ain't shit. That's why I'm able to. You exist because of your parents. I'm just gonna be honest. You exist because of your parents. I exist because of mine. Simple. And they exist because of their parents. Their parents exist because of their parents, and they exist because of their parents. Unless you want to go back to the beginning. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, which is some bullshit. The contradiction starts in Genesis 1 and 2. I'm surprised people are not paying attention to that. Which one was it? Genesis 2 or Genesis 1? Genesis 1 is completely different from Genesis 2. And they tell me the Bible has no contradictions, and they contradict in the beginning. Come on now. We come from our parents. Got the origin of the universe. Everybody can either go back to the Bible, or you can go to the secret book of John and the Gnostic scripts, or you can go to Hindu, or we can go to Africa. You know what I'm saying? I love all the origin stories on some real shit, but that God created heaven and earth shit, and then in Genesis 2 or some other shit, can't fuck with it. Can't fuck with it. How come every other book is straightforward, point A to point B? God go from point A to point B. Fuck on out of here. And don't get me started on talking snakes like the Jungle Book. And don't get me started on old man climbing mountains to talk to a burning bush. Don't get me started on a man opening up water for 2 to 7 million men, women, children, cattle, and carriage to go across. Don't get me started on the fucking magic. God forming in a pillar of fire by night and a big ass cloud by day. That shit fucking hilarious. That shit fucking hilarious. God is a genocidal, homicidal maniac through the whole Old Testament. The whole Old Testament, God is a maniac, genocidal, kill every man, women, and child. One seed, kill the man and women, but keep the virgins. What? God also killed 40 kids with 2 she-bears, all because they made fun of a prophet. What? Please. Lucifer gets to walk up in heaven, and God and Lucifer make a bet over Job's life. You can do whatever you want around him, but don't kill him. Don't touch him. Like, what? Please. If God was will, I would not serve him. If his son popped up, he already said, like, I come to take no till of the law of my father. Y'all obey my father. So like, I'm about to obey a genocidal, homicidal maniac. Simple. If the motherfucker was real, I wouldn't serve him. I wouldn't. I will leave the region, go to another region, and live with the monks. Did bears shit in the woods? Did God send those bears to eat them damn kids? And if God is real, the answer is yes. For no apparent reason, or because they made fun of a prophet. And don't get me started on niggas walking around 7 times around the city of Jericho, and the walls fall down after they blow some fucking trumpets. That shit ridiculous. It's either that city was already damn near fucking destroyed, or the motherfuckers snuck in and did some shit under the walls. But all that shit far-fetched. And then when it get to the goddamn New Testament, it's boring as shit. Christians dying for no reason left and right, and everybody following the motherfucking Jesus. Up to like 12 years old, disappear, come back at 30. So I'm like, where the fuck did Jesus go? You got to read the secret books to find out this nigga either went to India or Egypt, learned some magic, came back doing magic tricks. I'm done. This nigga fed thousands of people with a motherfucking bread and fish sandwich. I'm done. Walking on water. Really? But feeding the multitudes of people with some fish sandwiches. One fish sandwich, though. He disrespected his mom. He was like, "What you want, woman?" She was like, "Turn the water into wine to help this party out. This party is stale as hell." Jesus turned the water into wine. But he called his mother woman, though. Like, "What you want, woman?" Like, you disrespectful bastard. Talk about what you want, woman. Fuck wrong with you? Get your ass beat in the hood doing that shit. He said, "Yahweh, John Wick style, right? Not a Wayne screen, please." Are you using voice command? Because I hate voice command because I would have to go back into like what I see that I gotta like rearrange the words and shit. And plus I got big ass fingers. I gotta retype and shit. But anyway, it's 12:11. It's after midnight. But whether if God real, Sophia real, Galactic Federation, Satan, all of them, they all catching these hands if they real. Because when you know thyself, do you know that Jesus had a twin? See, another shit that's probably part of some Christian shit that I don't know. If Jesus had a twin, it's all fucked up. Everything fucked up. Everything fucked up if Jesus got a twin. It's like, damn, the family stories in heaven is fucked up. Because you got to ask questions. Where the fuck the twin go? What did he do? Or she? And another thing, here's another question for the fucking Yahweh or Jehovah or the Demiurge or Yah the Bayoff or whatever the fuck that motherfucking name is. Why you just don't kill Satan? What is it so hard? Why do angels have weapons up there and y'all not using them? Why is these demons down here wreaking havoc, steal, kill, destroy, but y'all not down here taking their asses out? Y'all wasting time. Y'all wasting time up there doing nothing. Like what? And another thing, they said it was cast down here. Earth is supposed to be a prison for Satan or Lucifer. Why in the fuck would you have the people that you love in the prison for the motherfucker that's supposed to steal, kill, and destroy? Because everything kind of goes back to I'm treated like either a hamster in a wheel, an ant in an ant farm, or an experiment to test my faith. No one, I repeat, no one plays tug of war with my soul. I refuse to play the game. I opt out. I'm no one's experiment for faith. Nah, please. This world is ran by murderers, liars, and thieves, and they're killing us through the food, through the water, through the air, through the disease. It's time for some retaliation. It's time for some vengeance. Vengeance ain't mine, shit, the Lord. Like, fuck all that. God takes too long. God ain't answered none of my prayers, so you think I'm about to sit here and not do the revolution and just let these evil people keep running this shit? Nah, I don't give a fuck if I'm gray in the head. Like, I gotta start this revolution because ain't nobody else gonna do it. They still waiting on Sky Daddy. Fuck that. That nigga ain't coming to save anybody. This world is run by evil people with names and faces and addresses that we just gotta find. Somebody made me do this when I'm not my time, or else it would be a fool. What? He said, woman, it's not yet my time. So why you make me do this when I'm not my time, or else it would be fool. Yeah, but at the same time, that's his mama though. And what mama say go. What mama say go. Honor thy mother, thy father, right? you come here to not take one till of your father's law, right? So what he do? He turned that water into motherfucking wine. Honor thy mother, thy father. Honor thy mother, thy father. Even though Joseph ain't your father, Jesus was a side baby, and that's even more fucked up. Side baby Jesus. We can make fun of it because the motherfucker ain't real. And this is why every other cartoon make fun of it. Jesus and the devil. That's what makes it even more funny. Because they both ain't real. It's all states of consciousness. The more good things you do, the more right things you think about, you are living like Christ anyway. Christ consciousness. Have you heard of that before? Christ consciousness. Shouts out to my spiritual Christians that value meditation, that understand Jesus, God, the church, all that shit is in the heart chakra. Focus on your meditation, unlock that heart chakra, work your way on up to the throat chakra, keep speaking your truth. Third eye chakra, unlock your foresight so you can understand your surroundings. Then get to that crown chakra, and then you'll be able to meet Jesus, which is your higher self. But due to your belief, you might end up seeing your version of Jesus in your mind. Mind you, the key word is in your mind. Because he's not physically real. And if he ever shows up, it's the government with Project Bluebeam. Okay? Now, mind you, I'll say this again. They was going to do this in 95. What stopped them from activating Project Bluebeam, they did not know how Allah looked. That's what halted the whole fucking project. But since everybody got a whole concept of Jesus and they've been brainwashed of seeing Jesus all their life, especially the Caesar Borgia looking one, that is easy to manipulate everyone. So it's going to be a wrap if they're going with the Rapture, Project Bluebeam. Like, and plus, if it don't be the Rapture, it just might be the motherfucker popping up in the sky. The military is going to use the voice of God weapons. Y'all going to think y'all hearing Jesus or God, and that's going to make y'all be brainwashed into believing what y'all seeing is real. If they go the alien route, it's going to be the same shit. Hologram of an alien. They're going to beam the voice in your head with the V2K voice of God weapon. And you're going to believe what you're fucking seeing. And the military is going to be flying the motherfucking UFOs. I saw the footage. They have the tech. And they've been using this motherfucking tech since the goddamn 40s. Way before any of us was born. Project Paperclip, where they took the scientists and brought them over here, created NASA. It's like, yo, the art of war is won by deception. The art of war is won by deception. And if they can get people to be docile and weak to wait on somebody to come and save them, they give them all the time in the world to keep fucking us up. This is a slow burn. And the only way is to fight. All right. Well, what's this? I say go watch the movie Viva Vendetta Yeah, I love that movie. I watch V. That's my movie right there. I got the mask right now. My shit's silver. I got a silver chrome mask. And then come talk to this girl. But what? Shit, like if anything, I'm the real V, because I'm the one that's gonna do that shit for real. Well, like I ain't gonna torture no girl to join me though. Like that was a little fucking extreme. How you just motherfucking tortured that girl to cut off her hair off. But I wouldn't do no shit like that. But I definitely do the revolutionary part. But really, Douglas by last probably killed by. Okay, what to think about this? If Jesus didn't exist, he would never come to your channel. You came to my channel, not Jesus. You didn't come here in the name of Jesus. You came here because I was live and probably nothing else on. And I'm talking about a topic that most people don't want to dive in without getting into arguments and fisticuffs. I am reasonable because I've been there and I've done that and I bought the t-shirt. So I could talk about it with the level of freedom because I know it's not real. This is what my Sunday services are for. I deconstruct Christianity. Right now, I'm just talking. But when it comes to deconstruction, that's the real shit. Because I had to deconstruct. And the last fear that I had to get over was the fear of a non-existing hell. What if I'm wrong? What if Jesus and God is real? I'm going to hell. And I had to look and be like, man, that shit ain't real. And if I do go, I'm going with a smile on my face because I refuse to be an automaton and serve a God that has never answered my prayers at all. I'll take the burning fire for 1,000, Alex. And plus, the great thing about waking up to being free, finding out that I am infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, driving a vehicle known as the human body. This is just a vehicle for temporary use until I leave this plane of existence. And it feels great to know that. It feels great to know that I'm not going to live forever on this suffering, wretched fucking planet we call Earth. I get to leave this bitch in the next 50, 60 years. I'm going to try to stay here as long as I can, eat right, exercise, and be around great people. That's what's going to keep me living longer. I'm infinite consciousness, infinite awareness, driving a vehicle known as the human body. Fuck this body. The spirit within me is the greatest shit ever. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just transferred. So how can energy burn for eternity and fire? It cannot happen. And when I came to that realization also, I was like, hell and heaven does not exist. And I'll be damned if I'm going to a place I got to be forced to go. No. I'm going to where I belong because I woke up. I didn't get trapped here. I let go of everything. And that's one thing that I do love about all the religions and spirituality and cultures. They may have differences on many levels, but the greatest thing that each and every religion, spirituality, whatever secret culture is out there, the one thing they have in common, and I'll ride with this shit to this day, detach yourself from this world and you will be free. I hold no attachments. At least I'm breaking free from all my attachments. I don't think music counts as an attachment because like music comes from the ether. You pull that shit from the ether. I can make, like music without a beat. That's just like some inner shit. But when it comes to like attaching to houses, places, things, toxic people, society, media, just shit that doesn't matter in the end. That's what we got to detach from. Understanding truth that life is suffering. Understanding that, like I say, I fuck with the Bible for research purposes. There's a book called Ecclesiastics in the Bible. One of my favorite books. It's the shortest of the Bible, but it's my favorite because it's straight to the point. And I think they made it short on purpose because when I say the Bible has spirituality in it, spirituality was in Ecclesiastics. But that in Proverbs. This is coming for real shit. Whether my text come out or not. 79 was that of the ABR. Don't know what that means. Jesus means you and me. You. Also, what in my own name, if I'm a Paul, who little call, I call myself as Jesus 10 because tomorrow is that of twin. Like Thomas, Simultaneous said, oh my God. I don't understand that. I don't know if you're doing voice command, but or you probably type it fast, but wish you all the luck. I don't need luck. I'm a God. My power protected my crib from a fire. Jesus wasn't there. Jesus wasn't there. I would say fuck Jesus in 06. The fire happened in 2017. I was deep, heavily rooted in my own power, my own meditation, my own spells, all to work, my own sigils, studying Bobby Hemmett. I mean, not studying Bobby Hemmett. Listen to Bobby Hemmett and studying the books that he wanted us to read. But what stood out with Bobby Hemmett was he said, you're the gods, you're the goddesses. You make your own spells, you speak your own affirmation, but you must have that intention in your visualization to make sure that shit manifests. When I got to my crib, I spoke peace and protection all through my crib. That was it. I want peace and protection. Money will come because I'm working and hustling. I just want peace and protection on my apartment. And every time I walked in it, I did my work, spoke my affirmations. And every time I walked in that bitch, I see a different apartment. I see a palace. I kept my shit nice. Give me the artist that's there to remember. All right. That's there to remember the body. Is that a movie? That Remember the Body or something? You subscribe to his twin shadow, and you can't deny it. You just said, wait, I am your help meet. Can you beat me? All right, I'm going back to old. I don't understand. So is Remember the Body a movie or something? Oh no. But shit, let me get up out of here. I was supposed to be up out of here like 30 minutes ago. 30. About to get ready to lay on about some more esoteric stuff. All right, just making sure. Shouts out to everybody coming through. I'm gonna have some more stuff later on. I'm gonna have an HHN. I don't know when I'm gonna start. Probably around like 12 or 1. It all depends. And probably talk about some more esoteric stuff. Oh, secret schools. Okay, I got another notification on some Hindu guy. I like his videos too. His video is pretty cool on some deep insight on the inner self. But I'm gonna leave out with this: studying the self and studying how to unlock the self, and really, most importantly, how to navigate the world after you find yourself. I listened to Carl Jung. I listened to Earl Nightingale. I listened to Alan Watts. I listened to Friedrich Nietzsche. I listened to Machiavelli, Bobby Hemmett, Brother Panic, Phil Valentine, Dr. Fuller, to really truly stay grounded in unlocking myself and making sure I keep on doing my inner work and shadow work to become a better person. Because at the end of the day, you don't need no God to let you know that you're a good person. If you know you wake up and you don't fuck nobody over, you don't lie, you don't steal, you don't cheat, you ain't out here killing or manipulating, you ain't doing nothing wrong. You wake up every day, you look in the mirror, and you can have no shame, guilt, and regret. You can go to sleep without no shame, no guilt, no regret, because you know that you're genuinely a good person. What most Christians don't understand is they put themselves in a box and they call themselves sinners. They call themselves wretches. They call themselves unworthy. But I tell you this, and I tell you all this now. You are worthy. You are more better now than God was in that Old Testament, because you have a heart. You have a strong mind. You have sympathy, empathy. You want to see the betterment not only for yourself and others, but for this planet. And to me, that's God-like, or goddess-like. So the power is yours. We can have a wonderful planet, but every time we create something wonderful, the evil that runs this world stops us, blocks us, systematically or by force. So I say, what do we do about that? If people are soldiers of God, then be the soldier of God and take out these evil motherfuckers with me, because I'm bringing a revolution soon. And it's going to be some righteous vengeance, because in my eyes, I see good versus evil. And if we want a good world, we got to get rid of the evil that's on it. We can't coexist with evil. But some people think it's a balance and Jesus is going to come and make a way. There's a lot of people that I know die thinking that Jesus is going to show up and save the day. But no, we got to save ourselves. So fire not coming, the Galactic Federation not coming, ain't no interdimensional entities coming to save us. So how are we going to save ourselves is the question. I say we do it strategically. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Let's take these evil motherfuckers out. Viva la revolution. The only solution is revolution. Destroy your governments now, and I'll catch y'all in a minute. Probably around the afternoon. I'm gonna do an HHN. But if I wake up early, I might do something on some other shit. But I'll catch y'all in a minute. Much love to my goddess Vanta, sending loving, positive, healing energy to you. You know what I'm saying, baby? Get better, get better, get better, get well. You know, baby, my power works. So I know you gonna feel it. I'm gonna use my visualization and just put my hands on it. Put my hands on you, baby. I got my healing hands. It is gold. I got my golden hands already. I got my visualization. I got my hands all over your body. And you're being healed as we speak, as you lay down. Much love, Vontae. So shouts out to everybody. Much love, Tammy Lynn. Thanks for chatting. Much love to my goddess Vontae. And shouts out to everybody that's going to watch on the playback. Shout out to people that hit the like button. And I catch y'all in a minute. Peace.